welcome to my armor making panel. Again, if you want to see more from the panel, better go to the left side because I work a lot with my progress pictures and they are sadly only on the screen. So, yeah, welcome. All of you guys were already yesterday here. Okay, a few. Well, just let me introduce pretty shortly myself. My name is Kamui, I'm from Germany. Already sorry for my bad English. I try to explain everything as well as possible, and I'm kind into armor making. So I'm here to teach you how to make big stuff like that, and just, yeah, you know, armors, braces, yeah, pauldrons, stuff like that. And if you have any questions, I will give you around 15 minutes after my presentation because yesterday it was a little bit chaotic and I tried to explain everything as well as possible. And after that I just, you know, you just can ask because I'm here to teach you and not just to talk the whole time and, you know, I won't avoid that to get boring, but I also really want that you understand everything, so try to keep your questions for the end, and then I try to help you as well as possible. And yeah, well, if you want to do some big armor crap, you know, it's not like, yeah, you say, yeah, I want to get into cosplay, and I think it would be a good idea. My very first cosplay, what about Iron Man? Yeah, Iron Man would be great. I mean, yeah, it was, I think it's not that a good choice, but I mean, you always see the big costumes at Comic-Con and stuff, and I just say, everyone starts somewhere, and I also started with cosplay 2003, and at this time, my costumes were not that good. I mean, my very first costume was the Great Saiyaman from Dragon Ball Z, but I mean 10 years later I'm jumping around in armor and stuff, and I basically teach everything by myself. But if you really want to do something, and I mean, I always tell people, if you really have a big dream, then you're able to aim this dream no matter what skill you have, no matter what time you have, and no matter how much money you have. Because if you do your homework, if you really have the will, then you will manage it. And yeah, well, one of this great help to achieve this goal is tutorials. So I would say really do your homework and search for tutorials. I'm somebody who publish a lot of tutorials, and in the past, for example, I had many people who asked me when Kingdom Hearts was pretty popular, hey, can you tell me how to make a Keyblade? And it was like, you know, you go to Google and enter Keyblade tutorial, and it's basically, yeah, for everything what you ever want to do, you will find a tutorial or something which was already made by other people, which is kind of similar, and will give you an idea how to make your own project. For example, you will find a lot on Cosplay.com. There are many people who do tutorials for fiberglass armor, for ether foam armor, for paper mache armor, and you can basically do armor out of every material. I already saw some guy who made samurai armor out of plastic buckles for paint. Yeah, what? And I bet you even can do armor out of, I don't know, bottles, yeah? Plastic bottles from Coca-Cola. You just need to find out how. My armor making panel is pretty much based on Warbler and Wonderflex, and well, how many of you guys know Warbler or Wonderflex or work with that? Oh, that's really amazing. But yeah, well, I tell you, Warbler and Wonderflex are a little bit expensive, and it's these are big plastic sheets which you just heat up. Yeah, and then you mold it or you bend it or whatever, and then it cools down, and then it stays in the foam. And this whole armor, for example, is made out of Warbler. It's a German product. And for example, I hear a lot from the Americans actually, who say, oh my god, these materials are so expensive. I bet it's because they're from Germany, yeah? And everything needs to get imported. You know, we're in Germany, we pay for our own product $10 more than you in the US. Okay? So it really depends on what is for you expensive and what not. For us, it's just, yeah, it's the daily cosplay stuff, and yeah, our money suffers, but I think that's just really a part of cosplay. And especially, I mean, you can do armor out of pretty cheap materials. For example, do you guys ever work with ether foam? Yeah, and it's a really cool materials. These are these pretty thick foam mats which you can use for the protection of your ground, for example. And these are really cool, cool materials. But the thing is, it's pretty breakable. So we basically work 100 hours on a costume, and it's like this stuff here. These black mats, and you basically work 100 hours on an armor, and yeah, well, then you wear it for 2 or 3 days, and then the armor starts cracking and it breaks. That's the problem. And with the materials I work with, they are super stable and solid, and I basically can play football with my armor, and it don't break. So really, I just can kick it around and stuff, and it won't break. And also the armor you showed before, compared to my Great Cyberman costume, I wore this costume already for 20 or 30 times because it's so small. It fits pretty well in my suitcase, and I have to fly a lot, and so it's super solid and it don't break, and it still looks like new. This here, for example, it still looks like new even after 30 or 20 times of wearing, and that's great material for armor. But yeah, well, it's kind of crazy. And well, but when you want to start with armor making, the main problem is also always for me the pattern making. I mean, where should you start? How to make your bracer, how to make your helmet and stuff. And there's a pretty easy and really simple tutorial for that actually. For example, you can just take kitchen foil. I think this foil is kitchen foil, right? Yeah, right. And then you just wrap yourself and cover your arm, for example, for a bracer with this thing, and then you cover your arm with painter's tape, right? Or I think it's called painter's tape, and yeah, then you just draw your patterns on, cut it out, and then directly transfer it to the material you want to work with. For example, I used here craft foam as a base, or you can also transfer to ether foam or whatever, or cardboard, no idea what you want to use. And it's a super easy material, super easy method to work with. For example, you can also do a helmet. And what's just, if you do a helmet, don't try to wrap your head. Because, there's this thing, you maybe need to breathe, and then you notice, yeah, it's not that good. So, for example, if you want to make a helmet, you can use a wig hat, for example, and also wrap the wig hat, and then transfer, draw the pattern on, and then transfer this pattern on the material. Do you see this well? I hope you see it well. And it's a super easy method, and with this you can basically do everything. For example, I once had to do a breastplate for him, and then I took a rubbish bag and put it over him, and or just a plastic wrap and wrap around him, and then it's just a thing. Yeah, you have to paint it on and stuff. But if you want to make details, it can take a little bit longer. Can you tell me how the feeling was?
Pain.
You maybe start sweating and stuff, and it's just not that nice. So if you want to torture your boyfriend and stuff, just draw pretty slowly. I'm sorry, honey, I said it sometimes. I'm sorry. That's super funny. Yeah. Was also made the same. I just wrap my leg, my armor, and then it's super simple. And for example, you can also wrap your bra, or don't wrap your hat. Okay, but I think that's pretty much the only thing. But it's a really simple and easy method for getting perfect and really perfect fitting armor patterns stuff. And then it comes to the materials. The big thing. Yeah, the big thing is if you have armor, for example, which is not that tight, which just flips around and stuff, you can just make your body bigger by adding bubble foil or
bubble wrap.
Yeah, padding stuff, and just make your armor bigger, your arm bigger, and then use this as a base, for example, if you have big stuff and so on. So, and yeah, I don't know what kind of armor do you need, by the way? What kind of armor do you need? Yeah.
Like a cuirass?
I'm sorry?
A cuirass, a breastplate?
Oh yeah. Wrap yourself. And do you know how it works now? Sir, I have no idea how good my explanation is.
What was your question? Sorry.
That's okay. Sorry for my English. I don't run workshop that much in the US. It's actually my very first one here. So I give my best. Yeah, but material. Yeah, and then it comes to the materials. Yeah, and it's sorry for that I'm that fast.
No.
Yeah, and then it comes to the materials. The materials is nine. No, and then, for example, if you want to keep on making a bracer, for example, a bracer is a cool start for an armor because a bracer gives you a feeling for the material itself because, you know, every material bends a little bit different, every material needs a little bit different treating. And for example, a bracer is a great start for getting an idea for an armor. So, for example, I made now the pattern with this wrapping foil method, and now I transferred the pattern to some craft foam, and then it comes to the real material. When I work with Warbler, I use craft foam as a base because Warbler is a thermoplastic material, and once you heat it, it becomes like fabric, and it's super hard to control it in this moment and to get it smooth. So to limit this flexibility of the material, I put some craft foam inside it and cover the craft foam from both sides with Warbler, or you can also use Wonderflex. Then I reheat it and press the edges around the craft foam together. And and then I shape it. Yeah, I just put it on my arm, for example, and bring it then into shape. For example, the other picture here, I heat everything together. Then it's hot. I put it on my arm, and then when it's cold, it stays in the shape. People ask me how I really manage this because you have to heat this thing up to 80 degrees. I have no idea how much Fahrenheit it is, but it's pretty hot enough to burn yourself. Okay? So, and people ask me, how do you manage this because it's so hot and stuff? You know, you basically put it on and then you just try to ignore the pain. I always see this a little bit as a challenge, you know? And I once tried it to make it with a breastplate, a pretty big breastplate all over my body, and it was funny. It was so funny. And I mean, I put it on my body, and it was hot and everything. And then I thought, okay, it's a little bit too hot, and I put it away. And it was, my whole body was kind of red, not so nice. But I mean, over the time you just get used to it, and you don't feel anymore that much. I mean, a good solution is also just to put your body under cold water. I mean, you can make a bracer. You put the material on your arm, then put the bracer under cold water. But I say that's boring. Yeah, it's much more easier and it avoids the burning and stuff, but it's boring. And I need the adventure, you know? Yeah, but I don't suggest it to you, so use cold water, whatever. But you know, when it comes to armor making, it's really, over the years, really find out how to work better and stuff. And this thing with cold water, I actually found out after 5 years of working with materials. And over the time, I always just waited until everything is cold and just, okay, it gets colder, stay strong, and you know. And then last year, why don't you put your arm just on the cold water? You're so dumb. You know, it's really, you develop your own yourself over the years, but that's a really good thing. If you share your knowledge with others, you really found out how others have work, or you can use the ideas of others and just work much more easier and faster, and that's the great thing. But you never will know everything from the start, and it would be also just boring if you know everything from the start. Do you have any questions right now? Yeah.
I know most women's armor tends to be down there, but what do you do when you have a piece that's in an area where you need a lot of flexibility?
Flexibility. Then you can just use several parts. I'm sorry? You can just use different parts of armor. You can just separate them. For example, if you have a breastplate, you can build a piece until this point, then you add a further piece under this point, and then a further piece under this point. So you basically build up layers which you maybe connect with rubber band or stuff like that. So it's still connected, but it's also flexible. So if you move, yeah.
What do you use to heat the material?
Oh, sorry. I use a hot air blower. It's a heat gun, right? Heat gun. You can also use a hair dryer, but a hair dryer is never as hot as a hot air blower. And for small projects, you can use a hair dryer, but a hot air blower is much more better for bigger projects, or if you just want to work fast and everything. Yeah.
What do you use to shape your shoulders?
Oh, I always use some kind of base for shoulders. For example, for these shoulders, I used a round styrofoam ball, and I just shape it over it. And you can use pretty much different things. For example, you can work free and just build the patterns before, but it's kind of complicated if you don't have a real reference, like if you shape everything on your body. But you can use something like that. So here is a styrofoam ball, and then I also covered this ball. Then later with foil and stuff, draw the pattern on, and then transferred everything, and then built everything up on this ball, for example. But it's always a little bit experimenting. When I create armor, sometimes I have to rebuild it and try some new techniques and stuff. So yeah. I don't talk about this. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so for bigger armor, for armor you made to appear bigger on you, how do you put that on? Because you got the space between the armor and
Oh, I will come to fixing later. Okay? I will explain also the painting, the fixing stuff. I will come to this later. Yeah.
Do you use the craft foam in every piece of Warbler that you use? Because we've done that and tried to shape it, and it kind of warped and everything when
Yeah.
we did that.
Yeah, I use craft foam. I use sandwich, warbler, craft foam, sandwich things for the main parts, because these parts need to be controlled. So the bigger parts, like this here, has a craft foam core inside, and all the big parts have craft foam inside. Everything which needs to be pretty smooth and clean and needs to get solid. So all the big parts are made with craft foam. But here, for example, I use also craft foam sandwich pieces for details. So you see, I also use. I use also this wrapping technique. There, I glued. I put some painter's tape directly on the armor, and then I painted some patterns and stuff on it, and then I transferred the patterns on craft foam, covered the craft foam with both sides with Warbler, and used this craft foam things, for example, as details. So I built bigger and also the base things with craft foam inside, and for details, like, I mean, you can use this thing. You can make details, for example, with Warbler stripes. So I basically put a big piece of Warbler together and cut some stripes out of it and use this then as a detail, for example. Yeah.
How do you get out air bubbles?
Yeah, sometimes when you reheat the material, you maybe have the problem that the material under the Warbler heats up, or the air heats up and then makes bubbles, and you just take a pin and press the air out. So yeah, and that's basically how this works. It is a really simple material, and you can make a lot of it, and also three-dimensional stuff, because I mean it all looks pretty flat, but you can also build up stuff. For example, you can also you can use it for like a clay, for example, and shape it, and yeah. It's really cool. Here, for example, you can use also the restovers of it, heat it up, and then press it together, and shape claws and stuff like that, or spikes and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think a big question I have is how much Warbler do you need?
Oh, that really depends on what armor you have. For example, this armor took me around 6 sheets of Warbler. These are these Warbler sheets, for example. These are pretty big. The biggest one is 1.50 meters and 1 meter. And I used around 6 sheets also with a weapon including for this armor, but it really depends on when it comes to ordering the stuff. You basically can calculate the amount of warbler you need before buy using making patterns before you actually order the material. For example, you make patterns, and if you want to work like me, that you cover craft foam with both sides with warbler, you just take the patterns twice, and then you get around the idea how much warbler you need then for the project. But it can take, I mean, you can need for armor 4 sheets, 3 sheets, 2, whatever. And right now I'm working on an armor which takes 10 sheets. And it's around 50% done, and it's a super expensive thing. This here, for example, took me 10 sheets. It took 10 sheets, I hope. And it's, making armor is never expensive, but it's always, with every big project, you have to know that you have to invest some money, but it will be worth it. Also, all the pain will be worth it, and I guarantee you, you won't have fun in wearing this costume. It will be completely painful, and it won't be nice and anything. And I always also ask myself, why do you do it? I mean, everything here, when I put the armor on, everything is red, and it hurts, and I will have everywhere, scratches and stuff. But it's I don't know, it's fun. And any other questions right now? Yeah, you have a question.
How long does the armor like right now take it to make?
To make. Yeah, well, it's not a good idea to start with such a costume 3 days before Kamui-Con. Yeah, you understand me why? It's basically when I started with my very first armor, it was one of my biggest projects so far. It was one of my biggest projects so far, and it took me around half a year to make it. I really said, okay, I start half a year on this project, so I'm really done in time, and I won't need to work pretty fast and stuff, and I will manage that, and I will have my time. And basically, this was at 5 a.m. in the morning. 1 hour before we drove to the convention. Okay, I started half a year before. I didn't sleep the last 3 nights before. I was completely dead, yeah, and my eyes looked like that. I had so much makeup on my face. You see it and stuff, and it was a crazy project. But I started half of a year before. I said, I will have time. I will manage this all. No. So really take your time and really know it takes time, it takes money, it takes effort. And especially if you want to do something big, calculate this all. Yeah, there's a question. I will, before I paint it. Before.
Before warbler.
Oh, I worked a lot with Wonderflex. The project you just saw from me, it was Wonderflex. And the thing is, when I started with armor making, I didn't have the help you have now. Yeah, I wanted to make a really big armor project half a year before, and I did my research and stuff. And the thing is, we don't have all the materials in Germany, or had at this time. And so I basically ordered, I think, 6 sheets of Wonderflex, and I think you pay $40 per sheet, and I paid $80 per sheet with shipping and taxes. And at this time, I just had a few pictures of, and also a few people said I made my armor with Wonderflex. That was basically nothing. There were no tutorials and nothing. I had no idea what the material does, how it looks like and everything. I basically ordered the material blind and hoped it will just work. I paid $200, just $200 for shipping. Just for shipping. Yeah, okay? This was the first order, and then I ordered a little bit more, yeah? And it was shipping, and then I had also taxes, and and it was like, when I got it, I can't ship it back when I got it, and I was, I just hope it works and stuff. And so basically, if you want to to work with a new material, try to get some test samples before. For example, you can order a pack of test samples from cosplay.supplies.com with Warbler, Wonderflex, I think also Friendly Plastic, a different thermoplastic material inside for $10, something like that. So really test it and then get a feeling for the material and then order it. And so yeah, but I ordered everything blind. I hope it just works. So any other questions? Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
What kind of, I see you have a body paint a lot. What kind of body paint do you use so that it doesn't rub off on the arm?
I can really say that it's a pretty crappy German product. I don't want really to recommend it. I had a body painting for this armor, for example, and everything inside the armor was blue, and it didn't smell that good, and it didn't also look that good. Basically, a lot of the stuff is Photoshop, but I know you have much better products here in the US. It was Creolon if you're interested in, but yeah. Last question and then I can go.
So Warbler sticks to itself when it's heated, but does it stick to other materials?
Yeah, Warbler is a pretty cool material. It sticks to itself when it's heated up because it has, when you heat it up, it activates a glue inside, so it sticks together and you don't need any glue to work with this material. In contrary, Wonderflex sticks to pretty much everything which is kind of plastic related. So if you basically work on your carpet and your carpet has maybe some plastic fibers in there inside, so your armor will stick to your carpet. Yeah. Or if you work with a breastplate and want to shape your breastplate on your dress form, and your dress form is covered with a lycra, which is plastic, thing, it will stick to your breastplate. So not that good. But yeah, you have to find out a little bit how to work with it. I basically work a lot with baking paper. When I heat up my armor, I put some baking paper on it, heat it up, and then that's my ground to avoid that it sticks to the table or anything. So okay. Oh yeah. The only thing is these materials are kind of rough. That's the main problem of them. They are great to work with it, but their surface is kind of rough. And if you want to make an armor and it shall look like metal, for example, metal is clean and shiny and stuff. This armor isn't clean and shiny yet, so it still needs some. You still have to treat it some kind. For example, this is a example I made for it's the down thing is Wonderflex. The upper thing is Warbler, and I sprayed it with golden chrome spray thing, and the half of them is covered with gesso, or you can also use wood glue as a primer. And you see the one side is pretty rough. It's basically like you painted sanding paper, and if you apply your paint job directly on the material, it won't just look good because it's rough and it's not clean. It just don't look like metal. That's a problem. So basically you have to use a primer to make it clean. A good primer is, for example, Plastidip or Elmer's glue, right? That's the English thing. And it's called wood glue in Germany. Or you can also use gesso. Gesso is like an acrylic primer, like a pretty thick acrylic white. But with gesso you can get your surface cleaner with gesso, but you still have to sand it. You really need to grab some sanding paper and sand all over your armor. And that's basically, when I made my very first armor, I had a pretty big thing, and I had to sand everything by myself. And it's not like you apply one layer, but you apply around 10 layers of that. Yeah, and you have to sand around every 3 layers, yeah, and I had this as an armor, and I had to sand everything by hand. I got completely crazy. And if you work with wood glue, you don't really need to sand, but wood glue is like you cover your armor with a layer of gummy, so it can get bumpy if you don't work super clean, and you can't sand it anymore, but you don't need to sand it. So these are a few advantages here. For example, it's not perfectly clean, but it's okay. And the other side, gesso is super clean, so you really have to decide what you prefer. And then you can basically just paint it. I use as a paint acrylic paint, just with brushes and simple acrylic paint, and I just paint everything black. For example, if I have a dark armor, this for example had a black base at first, and then I apply really just with some brushes and everything the basic paint. For example, like purple, this was the basic paint, and then I add shadows and stuff. Here I see it pretty well. There is the basic paint. The base is just gray. Then I really adapt some color on it. For example, this bright gray, and then I highlight the layers and all the borders and stuff. But it's everything just by hand. When it comes to painting, you really need a lot of patience, and it really takes a lot of time if you really want to do this pretty well. When I work, for example, on a piece of armor, which takes me 5 hours to make, I paint it at least for 10 hours. Yeah, so you need around twice or 3 times as much time for a paint job, like for building it. But I mean, you can also just paint everything. I mean, if you make a sword, for example, you just can make it just silver, because a sword is just, it's metal, and you can make it just silver. But the difference is, if you want to make some armor, you try to tell with your costume a story. And if you want to, if you have an armor, you make I don't know, a barbarian, and the barbarian is oh yeah, I'm a barbarian, and I just come from the shopping mall. New armor. And it just looks a little bit weird if your armor looks super shiny and bright and stuff, but you have a bloodthirsty character who just smash through the, through the hell and whatever. So I always try to do some scratches, add some dirt and stuff. And it's basically, if I apply the paint job and stuff, and then I dip my fingers into black paint, and then I touch all my armor. For example, Benny helps me a lot with my armor, and he spent for the barbarian, he spends a lot of time, and I don't know how many weeks he worked on this armor, and then I basically just dipped my fingers into red paint and added everything up. And said, what are you doing with my paint job? Stop that! And it was funny. It's really a matter of taste. I try to give my armor a more realistic look and everything. Just really try to tell a story. And also this armor has a lot of blood on it, and I also have blood on my skin and blah. And it's really a matter of time, but of taste. But if you do a shiny, bright warrior, which just do this all the time, then maybe he won't have any dirt in anything, And so you really have to decide. So, questions? Yeah.
How much does the sheet of warbler cost?
A sheet of warbler cost, I have no idea, I think $80 here in the US, something like that.
That's what Yaya sells it for.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
After you paint everything, do you have to actually seal the paint on the warbler?
Yeah.
It scratches off, and you make that.
Yeah, after the paint job, sealing is pretty important, and I use some different kinds of sealing. I think there is a matte sealing, a satin-like sealing, and a glossy sealing. I prefer usually satin-like sealing and also matte sealing. I never use this really glossy thing because it looks like cheap plastic, So you really also have to decide which sealing you have. And I apply at least one layer of sealing, not the spray thing, but it's an acrylic sealing which you apply with a brush. And the sealing not just protects your armor from scratches or your paint job, but also if you still have some scratches on your leg, you just cover the sealing again. You just apply a little bit more sealing, and then it's repaired. So you really protect your paint job from scratching and stuff. Yeah.
What kind of cutting or shaping tools do you recommend?
I'm sorry?
What kind of cutting or shaping tools do you?
Oh, I just have a scissors. I just work really with a hot air gun and scissors. That's all. I use leather scissors, which are pretty sharp and which you can also sharpen a little bit more. And for example, I use leather scissors for everything. Sometimes also carpet cutter. And this is about fixing. I will explain it later. and it's just pretty much a heat gun and sharp scissors. That's all. Yeah. Question? Yeah.
Do you have fabric underneath the base layer?
Yeah. It's when you wear armor, the thing is that this material you are not really able to breathe, and if you sweat, and you will sweat, it's not that nice because all the things collects under the armor, and then you put the armor on and everything's red and blah. So I basically use some fabric under it, some really random stuff. You basically just can cut a tight T-shirt or whatever, just something which collects your sweat, avoids the blah. Yeah.
As far as cleaning, do you just do like mild soap and water?
Just water. I just use some water. Yeah. So okay. Yeah.
Have you tried making an armor with some type of wings?
Wings?
Yeah.
Myself or myself? Oh,
Yeah.
if I tried armor with wings?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is I travel a lot with my costumes, and I always try to make my armor as small as comfortable. So, because for example, for this weekend I had 3 armor costumes with me, and I had 2 costumes for 2 suitcases for them, and they all have to fit inside. Yeah, so I try to make more sexy stuff. For example, this year are 3 full armor costumes and 1 suitcase. Yeah, and today I will challenge myself and try to get all the armor costumes I had in 2 suitcases to put in 1 suitcase. Yeah. But it's really try to make smaller things if you have to travel with it. Especially, you want to make some bumblebee costume. It's like, no idea how big, and then you stay in front of your suitcase. Yeah. Shit. You really have to think about what you cosplay and how you get it to the convention. Yeah, this thing. It's not that easy to get it in a suitcase. Yeah. So anything else or done? Okay. Yeah. Last question. Yeah.
What's the process used to make the breastplate?
The breastplate? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's the thing is, if you make armor for males, it's pretty simple, especially breastplates, because you just wrap yourself and stuff. And if you're a girl, you have kind of problems with this boom thing. Yeah, and I use acrylic spheres, for example, for my breastplate. And I just use acrylic spheres. I take a double layer of Warbler, I heat it up, and then I draw over the acrylic sphere. The thing about Warbler is it's really stretchable, and you're really able to mold it over some shapes. So these cups here were made with acrylic spheres, and then I just connected with the armor part. And for this part, for example, I just also wrap this part to get the pattern, and then I connect everything then with the sphere. So okay. Okay, then I think I go to the fixing, because really fixing is something it's not that good. For example, it's when I made the armor costume I told you before, which I finished at 5 a.m. in the morning, I built half of a year on the armor, and then I had basically 3 hours for the fixing, which was not a good idea. So basically I just took my armor, took my hot glue gun, and put all the Velcro tape everywhere in the armor. Yeah, I just glued all the armor together. And yeah, the thing is, I just went to the convention and I made one step, and the first part fell down. It was fuck shit. And I mean, in my whole convention I walked like that. I just tried not to fall. Something really important. I mean, fixing is something which you usually don't see because it should be under the armor, but it's the most important part of the armor, because it guarantees you that you feel comfortable in the armor, that your costume don't fall apart and stuff, and you just you feel well and everything. And right now I'm working a lot with Velcro tapes. This year, for example, is fixed with Velcro tapes and D-ring buckles. And I basically connect the fixing with the armor. I just don't glue it on with glue everywhere and stuff. I really connect the fixing directly with the armor. And what I do is just I take this D-ring D-ring buckles and cover the D-rings from one side with Wonderflex. Wonderflex is a similar material like Warbler. It just has a fabric grid inside, so it avoids that you're able to tear apart. So it's really, really solid and everything. So I cover it with the Wonderflex and cut a hole inside the armor with some heat and everything, and just put the stripe of Wonderflex where the D-ring is on inside the armor. By the way, you find everything here online on my Facebook site, on my website. I also wrote a book about armor making where you find everything super explained and stuff. I had the books already here, but they are already sold out, so sorry. But it's basically, everything is just really fixed directly with the armor. And the thing is, if you connect the fixing with the armor, nothing just falls off. And also, even if you don't have that much time, you basically just put the D-rings inside and then just connect everything with some strings. This here is hold everything with some strings together. And basically, today in the morning, I just stand there and Benny try to wrap everything together. And here, for example, you see just some simple strings which connect the armor. You can, if you have more time, you can sew belts and add to these belts some Velcro tape and make everything perfectly fitting and blah. But you can also just use some strings and it works. So it's not a big deal, but really connect the fixing with the armor. So, it's not just glued on and nothing falls apart and stuff. Also take some repairing stuff with you. For example, Benny has always some strings and the scissors with him, so if everything falls off or need to get corrected, he can fix everything pretty fast. So that's basically the fixing. Questions? Questions? Yeah.
How do you keep the shoulder pauldrons up and so they don't slide down?
Oh, it's these are sag mal die Dingsbums nochmal, die Bananen bei Basically, I use the belts I used already for fixing of the breastplate as a base, and you see there this here I also add some D-rings to these belts and just connect with strings the pauldrons with these belts, for example. Yeah, that's pretty much all. I also sometimes, if you have really big shoulders, it's important to lift the shoulders a little bit up. So sometimes these shoulders, for example, they have some shoulders under shoulders. So you just you build the armor piece and then you make a little copy of your shoulder and put it under this armor and lift it with a round long thing between these both armors. Sorry. Column. Yeah, with a column. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you basically can really lift everything up, and especially when it comes to armor, you also have to work a little bit with an optical focus. I mean, if you see this crazy Warhammer armor or the World of Warcraft armor, they have all this massive pauldrons, they have this big helmets, and if you work on armor, it's often that the focus lays around the breast and the pauldron thing. So you have to build your armor pretty big and stuff, and especially your pauldrons, so it looks just interesting. The only thing is, if you make armor, always keep in mind that you are a human, I mean, I once made an armor for him, and my reference was a Night Elf Druid from World of Warcraft, and they had armor like that. They had pauldrons like that, like this. Yeah. Genau. Here on the right side you see the pauldron armor. Yeah. It's kind of big. So, and the thing is, if you cosplay, you will never have the proportions of the character you cosplay. You will be always a human. You will be never an orc. You will be never a mighty barbarian thing, a strong warrior. You are always a human. So always try to make your armor for yourself or not for the character. So what I did, for example, I resized the pauldrons to him, so it just don't look weird, because sometimes you see people in really massive armor and it kind of look weird, and this can be possible because they maybe didn't adjust the proportions of the armor to themselves. So you also need to get a kind of feeling for the sizing and stuff. And I mean, a good way is to make a photo of yourself, for example, and then draw the silhouette of the armor on this photo to get idea for that. Or you just say, this night elf, for example, from World of Warcraft is originally 2.30 m. Don't ask me how much feet it is, but it's like that, pretty big. And I'm not that high. So I say, this night elf doesn't have the original height, it has my size, yeah? And so I make a scale on her, on my size, and transfer the scale on her to the prop I, for example, built, or to the armor piece and stuff, and just make everything smaller. And you can basically work just with your eyes. I, for example, never measure anything. I just build everything just from scratch and never use, grids or anything or some orientation points. But it's a really great help if you still don't have that much experience and just need, some orientation how big you want to make your armor. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah.
Your Protoss wizard has lights.
Yeah.
When do you add the lighting?
I basically add the lighting and also the fixing right when everything is done.
After the paint?
Yeah, when everything is done. It's just, I build at first all the armor pieces, I build them, then I paint them, I seal them, and then I add the fixing. Because, just fixing and stuff is more, at first you have to get the armor before you can add some extra stuff. And extra stuff is something which, if you start with a costume for Comic-Con 3 days before, you maybe want to make the armor and stuff before, and then you think about the extra stuff. So, yeah. Yeah, you have a question. How many points? No, I have my shoulder pads are attached here on one point, directly to the belt. And I also, you maybe saw the D-ring here, which goes with a strap here over my back, and it's also attached here, so it's pretty fixed. You can also add a ring at the back, for example, so it's even better fixed. And if you have some really, really huge pauldrons, if you have some really, really huge pauldron, you need even some additional support. For example, I had a really crazy project I'm still working on. It's the Crusader. This thing here. This has massive pauldrons. I think one pauldron weighs around 4 pounds at least. And it's super crazy and massive. And this thing, for example, is fixed with pauldrons under the pauldrons. Yeah, with the
columns.
Yeah, and it's also and it's also in addition fixed to the collar. For example, I made a string between the collar and the top point of the pauldron, so it's really fixed to the pauldron and not just to the strings around my back and everything. Yeah.
How did you fix your Protoss helmet to your wig?
Sorry. I'm sorry.
How did you fix your helmet to the Protoss to your wig?
Oh yeah, when it comes to helmets, for example, I had a mask for the wig I made for a costume before. I just put some strings around my head, and it was also a super sloppy fixing because I had no time for the fixing. But from the point on, when you have these D-rings inside, you will find a solution to fix it somehow. A costume I wore yesterday, I finished it at, I think, 2 a.m. in the night before, and I had already the D-rings inside and just fixed everything somehow with some strings, and then it should work already, somehow. Yeah, this was this thing, and I really had big plans for the fixing, but I will still improve it, and also fixing is never perfect. When you wear an armor costume, it's the very first time you wear it, it's mostly just the beta version, and then when you come home, you just try to improve it and everything, make it more comfortable. And, yeah. Questions? No? Okay. Okay. We still have 10 minutes, so if you still have any questions, just feel free to ask. I just try to be very fast. Yeah.
How do you put the columns from your smaller shoulder to your bigger shoulder? Because I know I tried to attach something into my
Yeah.
Morgla and it wasn't quite staying. How did you do that?
I just built this under shoulder, and then I put the column on this under shoulder, heat then the inside of the real shoulder and the column up, and then press it together. And
You're actually putting it inside the armor like the D-ring, the same type of...
I'm sorry?
You're putting it inside the armor the same way you did the D-ring?
Yeah, I just heat everything up and then press everything together. That's a good thing about this material. For example, this also had to be pretty lifted up, and I also used this under projection so it stays up. Or if you see this really crazy Warhammer armor, they just don't lay on the shoulder; they really stay up. So you need to build under the armor to lift it up like that. So yeah.
For any, I know earlier you were talking about kind of texture-related issues with
Yeah.
certain materials. Would you recommend, like, for a quick fix, not anything major, you know the nail shaper tool, the professional nail shaper tool?
Yeah.
That you use for manicures? Would you recommend using that, like, especially for like really small intricate layers, like really small areas?
Oh sure. I mean, when it comes to cosplay, it's never that you have to use that material or this is the ultimate solution. It's always, I always see cosplay as a huge community of people who discover something together. And if somebody found a good solution for something, then just share it, and maybe somebody else try something better. So sure, why not? It's always just experimenting. So yeah, you have a question.
How did you go about making your Crusader horn?
The Crusader horns, yeah. When it comes to armor, you also can make also pretty three-dimensional things. For example, then you have to use something else as a base. And here I worked with pink insulation foam, which I just cut in the shape of a carpet cutter or a cutter, and then sanded it by hand, and then covered it also from both sides with Warbler. And then it had a pretty horn texture like a structure. And then for this issue, for example, I used a stripe of double layer Warbler and pressed the stripe at the bottom on the Warbler and pressed it pretty flat to create this pattern, and also used my nails to make some scratches inside. And I mean, this material is really cool because you also can create structures, you can sculpt with it, you can mold it and whatever, but you really have to experiment. And I also had no idea what I do when I did this, and it was everything just an experiment. Yeah.
What do you do with the seams of the Warbler to make them less noticeable?
Yeah, if you put different parts of Warbler together, for example, the helmet, it was made out of separate parts. You just heat up the seams again, press them together, or you just take. I, for example, like to take the roll of painter's tape and roll over it again, or you just. Heat the Warbler up and then use a spoon. You just use something hard and press over the seam to get it more flat again. So, any other questions? Yeah.
How did you make the dragon scales on the one piece?
The dragon scale from the wizard.
I saw an image of her head. It looked like it had dragon scales.
Mm-hmm. That.
This here? Oh, this thing. I built the base before, and then the dragon scale where everything was cut out with one simple double layer of Warbler. So these are around 250 scales. I really counted it, and they were all. I cut them out, and then I shaped it. I brought them in the shape. Then I heated them up and then put them on the armor. So I basically did this 250 times. It takes some time sometimes. It's fun. And if you're bored, if you don't have anything better to do, I mean, like I said, don't start 3 days before Comic-Con with a costume. So, yeah, it takes time. Yeah. Question? Yeah.
I know you said you're out of your books right now. Where can we get them?
Online. I have an online shop right now. I wrote a book about armor making. and a second book about painting, which you can order on Kamui cosplay.com or also on my Facebook page, Kamui cosplay.com. You will also find there current progress stuff or tutorials, and I also have a YouTube channel, and just visit me whatever. Yeah. Okay, 5 minutes. Any other question? Yeah.
For your talents like silvers and gold, is there a specific type of color paint you use, like brand or anything?
Yeah, if you want to paint armor, it's a cool idea to use spray paint, because if you work with metallics, acrylic metallics don't cover that well, and you usually have to apply many layers, and then you see the brush strokes and everything. And so I basically use spray paint as base, and then it looks like that. For example, it was a chrome gold spray paint, and over that I start painting with acrylics. But yeah, never stop just with a silver or a golden paint job, because it just don't look real that much. I mean, armor has always shadows and also a little bit highlights and stuff, and try to highlight everything, try to make everything deeper, more interesting. But painting is also just a matter of taste. I like to overrate everything a little bit, so yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever been asked to do like professional costume design by like somebody that's filming something?
Oh yeah, last year I made 2 costumes for BlizzCon for Intel in New York. It was a commission, and it was I stood in Germany and made a commission for two girls in Los Angeles. And I'm not a seamstress, I'm not able to work with measurements, and I have no idea. This was, for example, a commission, and I had no idea how big I have to do my stuff or how it will look at the end. And so basically I just saw this girl, I chatted with her over Skype, and I saw she's a little bit smaller than I, and how can I make the arm a little bit smaller than for me? And then I hope everything works. And it worked, yeah, but yeah, I do, yeah. Yeah.
Your arm pieces, is that one piece? Like, how do you take it off?
This here? I have pretty disgusting tiny ankles. Is it ankles?
Wrist.
It's wrist. So you can.
Ah.
Disgusting! Don't look at that! Yeah. So, yeah. Fashion.
For your shoes, do you use actual like shoes for a base? And
Oh
how do you
yeah. For example, shoes. These are boots I use for many armors, and I also just wrap the shoes to get an idea how the patterns of the shoes looks like, and then you see, I work with several parts just so the armor is still movable and everything. I mean, if you build something for arms or feet where you have to move it a lot, try not to limit your own movement, because it won't be that comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but these are just normal boots. Last question, anyone else? Okay.
How would you attach the warmer to boots or clothing items?
Also the same stuff. I put just some D-rings inside. Here you see. These are also just some D-rings inside. This is just a experimenting, fixing thing, and just D-rings, and then test a little bit if it works or not, and that's pretty much all. Okay, I think we're out of time now. You can still ask me something. I will still stay here for a few minutes. And then thanks a lot for your attention. I hope I was able to teach you something. And yeah, well, thank you, and have a wonderful Katsucon.